Hello there. This is Nelson Olmsted. Today I have the story of two brothers who helped tame the wild and woolly Idaho panhandle. That story in a moment after a word from Clint Gruber and Pacific Power.
Welcome once again to Stories of Pacific Powerland, a presentation of Pacific Power and Light, the company that has been serving the electric needs of the region's homes, farms, and industries through more than half a century of progress and growth. Now, here's Pacific Powerland's storyteller extraordinary, Nelson Olmsted.
The country around northern Idaho's Lake Pend Oreille was big and wild and rugged in the years just before the turn of the century. On the northwestern corner of the Great Lake, a cluster of buildings marked what was to become the city of Sandpoint. It was here that the Nesbitt family came in 1893, and when the father looked around with his two young sons, Harry and Mel, he said,
"Well, one nice thing about Sandpoint, you can stand in one place and see the whole town without turning your head." But I figured the town might grow anyhow. It ought to be a good place to have a sawmill.
Mrs. Nesbitt was less enthusiastic. There were only 12 families in town, no school, no church, and a disproportionate number of saloons. However, in the best tradition of a frontier wife, she settled down to make a home for her husband and children. Well, as Sandpoint began to grow, the Nesbitt family contributed to its development. The Nesbitt mill cut lumber and shingles for the new buildings. Mrs. Nesbitt helped organize the town's first church. And the two boys' early training in self-sufficiency was a godsend. For in 1897, their father was killed in an accident, and Harry and Mel found themselves sharing responsibilities as head of the Nesbitt family. Harry, the elder, told his brother, "Now, Mom is going to take in boarders, Mel, but there won't be enough money for all of us, so we'll have to make our own way. But let's make a pact right now. We stick together no matter what." And so it was, through a fantastic variety of adventures and enterprises, the Nesbitt boys stuck together. They worked together at logging, at locating homesteads for newcomers to the Idaho Panhandle, in the construction business, and even in emergency situations as Sandpoint's medical team. One time, an excited citizen ran up to Harry Nesbitt and said,
"Harry! Oh, there's been a terrible fight and a shooting at the saloon. You better go over there and see what you can do."
Well, Harry arrived, and he found two irate loggers standing at the bar arguing. One of them was bleeding from a flesh wound in the leg, and Harry said, "All right, Joe, you lie down on that table. I'm going to swab out that hole in your leg, or you'll have lead poisoning for sure." And so Harry Nesbitt, still little more than a boy, treated the logger's wound, stopped the bleeding, and sent the man on his way. Well, Sandpoint, Idaho, had its growing pains for sure, and the two Nesbitt brothers watched it grow with a pardonable sense of pride and accomplishment. Together, Harry and Mel went into the construction business. They built bridges over every major river in 9 western states. They constructed the Sandpoint power plant in 1907. They built steamboats, which operated on the waters of the Lake Pend Oreille. Mel ran a feed store and a furniture store for a time. Harry served as a game warden and put in 12 years as a member of the Sandpoint City Council and 15 years on the Water Commission. In fact, most any old-timer in Sandpoint will tell you, "Yes, sir, there isn't much in Sandpoint those Nesbitt boys haven't worked at." The way I figure it, Sandpoint wouldn't be half the town it is if Harry and Mel Nesbitt hadn't been around since 1893.
It's amazing how such a